This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. We have breaking news in the Madeline Soto case. Let's go ahead and dive into it. You guys know I like to get started right away. So we are hearing that Stephan Soto is expected to do a plea deal. There appears to have been a plea deal in the works. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some interesting information on Jennifer Soto. We're going to talk about what type of parent she was. We're going to talk about narcissism and what role this played in the relationship that Jennifer Soto had with her daughter, Madeline Soto, and some other disturbing information regarding Jen Soto in just a moment. So please stay with me. So come on in. Tell me where you are from. My name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you have not subscribed to Reporter Room, well, it's free. It's free, and it helps me out a lot. So please subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up and drop me a comment in the comment section below, or come on up and talk to me. Everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So today we're going to be discussing the Madeline Soto case, Jennifer Soto and her enmeshment with Maddie, the narcissism, and a possible plea deal for Stephan Stearns. So come on in and tell me where you're from. You can tell me what you're comfortable with sharing, what state, what country, what continent, whatever you feel comfortable. So Stephan Stearns' trial was set to begin with jury selection on Tuesday, but this may be on hold because there is a plea hearing now set for 1:30 Eastern time on Monday. Now, Stephan Stearns' trial, the second trial on the murder count, was scheduled to begin in the fall. But prosecutors said that they wanted to seek capital punishment if he was convicted. Now, neither the prosecutors or Stephan Stearns' attorneys would discuss the plea hearing with the Orlando Sentinel, who is breaking this news. However, sources with the Orlando CBA affiliate say that Stephan Stearns is expected to plead guilty in both cases. So is Stephan Stearns a little afraid of prison justice? Let's go through this together. So one day before jury selection was scheduled to begin, in the trial of former Disney World cast member Stephan Stearns. It's really scary that he was a cast member. I'm just in light of what he did to Maddie. Allegedly, he hasn't pled guilty yet, but he is on trial for S crimes, and he was scheduled to start jury selection on Tuesday. In fact, we were going to start airing the trial on the 25th when prosecutors were planning opening statements. But now we have a plea hearing set for Monday at 1:30. If it is available, I will be televising it for you. Now, prosecutors did say they would be seeking capital punishment against him. Neither prosecutors or Stephan's attorney would discuss this plea deal. There's no mention of what type of sentence Stephan would get in exchange for his plea deal. But Maddie disappeared last February. She did not show up for middle school. Jennifer Soto reported that she was missing. Actually, she didn't call 911. A friend did, which is alarming. And we're going to talk about Jennifer Soto because I have some things I have on my mind about her. But during the search for Madeline, both Jennifer and Stephan were interviewed by local police, and during their investigation, the Orange County Sheriff's Office detective said that they found what they characterized as disturbing images on Stephan's phone. And a forensic investigation showed that he had tried to delete those images. Not just delete those images, he reset his phone back to phone factory twice. Detectives believe that those crimes were committed in a family's home in Kissimmee, Florida. Stephan is currently in prison on those charges. Maddie was found in a remote area in the Osceola County near Pearl Lake after police reviewed the video from around Maddie Soto's mother's apartment complex and the school. Stephan Stearns was questioned a second time by police, and he was ultimately arrested on 60 counts of possession of images of SA for what he did to Maddie. Watching my words here. And it wasn't until a few weeks after the initial charges that Stephan was officially charged with first-degree murder. He was a former Walt Disney World cast member, and internet sleuths found photos of him working at Journey into the Imagination with Figment. Jennifer Soto also listed her place of employment as the Walt Disney Company on her LinkedIn biography, and she worked as a vacation planner at Walt Disney World. Victim impact statements will also be read in court on Monday before Stephan's plea deal is announced. So I do think that that is very, very interesting. Let me grab this. And I want to talk about Jennifer Soto. Because there's like just so much that bothers me about this. Let me grab a sip of water. I feel okay, but my throat's scratchy today. Okay. I just want to have this up. I want to talk about Jen. Okay. This just really, Jennifer just bothers me. The more I looked into stuff, the more that just her behavior just bothered me. So I want to go through some of her statements and you know, some of the things that she said that I find as being really disturbing. And I'm wondering if this is going to be part of the plea deal. Is Stephan Stearns going to flip on Jennifer Soto? So Jennifer had expressed concerns while they were searching for a missing Madeline last winter about the close relationship that he had formed with Stephan Stearns, who was 37 years old at the time. Maddie was only 13. And just to hear Jennifer characterize this as a relationship is disturbing to me. This is a 37-year-old man, and Maddie was 13. She was told to go to this room with him, this guest room. Maddie was 13. She was not able to consent to anything, but it just gets worse. And Jennifer said, I always told, and she's talking about Stephan here, that my biggest fear is that this would turn into a Woody Allen situation where the child turns 18 and ends up running away with him. This is what she told detectives. And my takeaway is that's her biggest concern. Her biggest concern is Maddie is going to run away with her boyfriend. Just let that sink in. This woman was jealous of her own child. She viewed Maddie as a threat to her relationship with Stephan Stearns. This is really sick. So she was apparently referring to filmmaker and actor who married his own adopted daughter that he had with his former girlfriend, Mia Farrow. What Woody Allen did was gross, but he, you know, at least she was of age. In this case, Maddie was not of age. She was not anywhere close to being of age. And so let's consider Jennifer's full comment in its context. She says, I've always told him, she's talking about Stephan Stearns here, my biggest fear is that this would turn into a Woody Allen situation where the stepfather she corrects herself, the dad grooms the child, and the child turns 18 and ends up running away with him. And the detectives follow up and they ask her, why would you say that to him? Because she says she's saying this to Stephan. Because I never trusted, and again, she stops herself. I never trusted. I grew up being told, never trust a man. My mom put that in my body, and I didn't not completely 100% trust a man. So let's unpack what Jennifer said line by line, starting with number one. Jennifer said, I've always told him, and she's talking about Stephan Stearns here, my biggest fear is that this would turn into a Woody Allen situation where the stepdaughter falls, the dad groomed the child, and the child turns 18 and ends up with them. So she says, I've always. So this tells me that she said this to him often, Stephan. So her pretending to be naive about what he was doing ridiculous in light of this statement, in my opinion. But let's continue to unpack her statement because it just gets worse. She says, number two, my biggest fear is that it would turn into a Woody Allen situation. She's not saying her biggest fear is that her daughter would be safe or wouldn't be safe. She's not saying her biggest fear is that her daughter, uh, wouldn't be found. She's not saying her biggest fear is that Maddie would have trauma for the rest of her life. No, her biggest fear is that Stephan is going to leave her for Maddie. Okay. Number 3, it just continues to get worse because Jen says, because I never trusted. So in my opinion, Jen knew Stephan Stearns was not trustworthy. She says, she's told police she never trusted him. So if she did not trust him, why did she send Maddie upstairs to the guest room alone that night? Why did she need a good night's sleep that night? Didn't Maddie deserve to be safe? Didn't Maddie deserve boundaries? Didn't Maddie deserve to have a good night's sleep? Didn't Maddie deserve not to have to be around this horrible man? And so here we have Jen literally admitting that she did not trust Stephan Stearns. And to understand Jen, we need to understand narcissistic mothers. So, what kind of a mother is jealous of her own daughter while her daughter is being SA'd by her boyfriend? Well, in my opinion, and I'm going to use narcissist as an adjective because I'm not a medical professional, Jennifer Soto displays classic narcissistic tendencies. So to understand Jennifer is to understand how a narcissistic mother acts. And maybe you've had a narcissist in your life. But let's talk about narcissist and mothers. Because a narcissistic mother doesn't have empathy. They don't feel emotional empathy like you or I do. So Jennifer would have felt no empathy for Maddie when she sent Maddie to Stephan's room that night. And this is why, in my opinion, Jennifer sounds so calm when she's talking to police in that interview that I played for you during our last live stream. Jennifer sounds calm and not perturbed at all because of what's going on with Maddie, because she doesn't feel any emotion or empathy or compassion for Maddie. She's worried about herself. She's worried about what they're going to find out about her, in my opinion, but she's not worried about Maddie. So, in fact, I think Jennifer has displayed repeatedly that her biggest concern, as evidenced by her own statements, are for herself, right? Her concern with Maddie and Stephan is that Maddie's going to run off with Stephan, not that Maddie's going to be hurt by him. So again, I'm not diagnosing Jennifer. I'm using narcissist as an adjective. But to understand Jennifer, we need to understand narcissistic mother. So Jennifer only views Stephan's relationship on how it affects her, Jennifer. And this is why Jennifer was so concerned with her own good night's sleep and had no concern at all for her daughter. Because a narcissist is not capable of demonstrating love because they don't feel love the way that you and I do. And Jennifer's Woody Allen comment is just smacks of classic narcissism because it shows her biggest concern is that Stephan Stearns will leave her, the narcissistic mother. And she knows that he's not being honest. She knows he's being deceitful. She knows he's not trustworthy. But she's not interested in protecting Maddie. She's interested in protecting her relationship with Stephan. And if that means using Maddie to hold on to Stephan Stearns, well, she was fully prepared to do that, wasn't she? In my opinion, allegedly. So in my opinion, Jennifer viewed Maddie as a trophy. She viewed Maddie on how well Maddie could help her hold on to Stephan Stearns. She viewed Maddie on how well Maddie reflected back onto her. And this is why she didn't mind throwing out a few negative comments about her daughter when her daughter was missing for days. She didn't feel concerned for the fact that Maddie was gone, in my opinion. She was concerned for herself of what law enforcement would find out about her, but I didn't see a lot of compassion and empathy in her statements regarding Maddie. Research has shown us that children of a narcissistic parent will become anxious. And, Stephan talked about the fact that Maddie was anxious. Well, maybe Maddie did have anxiety, but I don't think that Stephan was the person to comfort her. I think she had anxiety because Maddie wasn't allowed to set any boundaries. Imagine growing up, and maybe some of you don't have to imagine this, because maybe some of you actually experience this, because I believe that some people are attracted to true crime because they're working through their own traumas. But imagine growing up in a household where your primary caregiver feels no compassion, no empathy for anything that you're going through. They only care about you in terms of how well you reflect back onto them. So if you make good grades, or you make honor roll, or you win some type of award or accolades, you're going to get praise from the narcissistic mother. If you're successful in some way that reflects well on the narcissistic mother, then she loves you. However, if what you're doing doesn't reflect well on the narcissistic mother, then the parent can simply discard you. This can be anxiety provoking for an adult to deal with somebody who's like this. Maybe you've had a boyfriend or a husband or a boss or a friend. This can be anxiety producing as an adult, but imagine you're 13-year-old Maddie Soto, and you're relying on Jennifer Soto for your sense of well-being and your sense of self. Part 3, grooming. A lot of people believe that Stephan was grooming Maddie, but I think we also need to consider the fact that Jennifer herself was grooming Maddie. And please hear me out on this. Grooming is where a parent seeks the same level of emotional intimacy from their child that they would normally receive from a romantic partner. So it doesn't have to be physical, it can be emotional. And can we not see this playing out in the fact that Maddie was not allowed to have her own bedroom and not even her own bed? She was forced to sleep in her bed with her mother. She was not allowed to have any boundaries, even with her mother, Jennifer. So when there aren't healthy boundaries between a parent and child, this can blur the line between a parental figure and a romantic figure. And so Jen didn't have to lay any finger on Maddie to be grooming her. She didn't have to be physical with her in any way, but she was grooming her, in my opinion. She was enmeshed with Maddie by refusing to allow Maddie to have her own bedroom. She had a guest room. Let that sink in. She kept the room separate for guests, but Maddie wasn't allowed to have her own room. So let's talk about some examples of a covert SA. And this is what I believe, that this was an emotional, what Jennifer did to Maddie was emotional. She can have graphic conversations with her daughter, whether that is her romantic life, we're providing too many details about romantic life, or having her romantic partner sleep in the same bed with her and her daughter. She could confide in Maddie about her own emotions and traumatic experiences, which put Maddie in the role of being either the parent or a best friend or a therapist, but certainly not allowing Maddie to be a child. Maddie was not allowed to have time to herself in her own separate bedroom. She wasn't allowed to close the door. And I think Maddie was forced to be everything to Jennifer: a therapist, a parent, a best friend, everything except her daughter, including allowing her daughter to be an SA surrogate for Stephan Stearns so she could hold on to her boyfriend, in my opinion. Jennifer may have been confiding in Maddie about her romantic life, her money problems, her work problems. And I do believe that this dynamic did play out in the household between Jennifer and Maddie. I believe that Maddie was literally forced to be Jennifer's romantic partner, not in a physical sense, but a romantic, in a emotional sense, not a romantic sense, but in an emotional sense. And I believe this is why Maddie had to sleep in the same bed when Stephan was there, and why she had to sleep in her mother's bed when Stephan wasn't there. And when Stephan wanted to just be with Maddie, she sent her upstairs and to do that too. Anything so that Jennifer could hold on to her boyfriend, Stephan Stearns. So a parent who frequently tells their child something along the lines of, "You're my whole world and my other half," this is all should be red flags for you guys if you've had this happen in your own life. It sounds like it would be a compliment, but actually it puts a lot of pressure on the child, because it's not a child's job to be the whole world for their parent. Parents who openly bash each other in front of their children should be another big red flag, trying to get one child to be on their side. This can be incredibly stressful, anxiety inducing, and harmful, because it damages the child's relationship with both of their parents. Parents who give romantic or emotional gifts to their children, such as romantic cards and notes. And we're going to talk about Maddie's birthday and the fact that Jennifer wasn't there in just a moment, so please stay with me. But again, a lot of emotional value. So it doesn't have to be performing essay on a child to be grooming them. It can be emotional as well. And it can be covertly putting a child in the position of having to be a romantic partner emotionally to the parent. And that is what I believe happened with Jennifer, allegedly, in my opinion. A parent who does everything with their child, making them feel like they cannot have a life without their parent, for fear of abandoning them or hurting their feelings. And I believe we see a lot of this with Jen. A parent who frequently crawls into their child's bed is a red flag. To hold them, cry to them, or confide in them like they are a romantic partner is considered to be grooming. And again, this doesn't have to be physical, it's emotional. But this was even worse because Maddie wasn't even allowed to have her own room. She wasn't allowed to have her own bed to crawl into. She had to sleep in her bed with her mother or sleep in the bed with Stephan. She was not allowed to have any boundaries at all. And I think Maddie would have been so enmeshed with Jennifer, and she would have been forced to talk about whatever Jennifer wanted to talk about. And Jennifer is a classic narcissist, in my opinion. And Jennifer probably talked about Jennifer. We'll never know because Maddie's not here to tell us. But parents, here's another red flag. Maybe you've encountered this in your life. I just want to point these out because maybe through learning about Jennifer, we can prevent this from happening to someone else. Maybe in talking about what Jennifer did to Maddie, it can help someone else heal. Parents who frequently comment about their child's appearance in a certain kind of way, make frequent comments sort of like, how beautiful you are, how curvy you are, boy, the men are going to be all over you. Again, this is inappropriate for a parent to say this to a child. So I think to understand Jennifer and the choices we need to go down this path together of the narcissistic mother. It's a pervasive pattern of self-centeredness, grandiosity, and an insatiable need for admiration. So here are some characteristics of a narcissistic mother. Self-centered and lack of empathy. Her own needs and desires are prioritized above those of her children, and it's difficult for her to understand and connect with her child's feelings. And we see this in Jennifer, in that she forced Maddie to be in the same bed with her. She forced Maddie to be in the same bed with Stephan. She forced Maddie to be in the bed with her and Stephan together. So her own needs and desires were prioritized ahead of Maddie's. Manipulation and control. I believe Jennifer probably used guilt tripping, gaslighting, or playing the victim to manipulate Maddie. Just like even her saying she needed a good night's sleep, distorting or denying events to make her own children. It would have made Maddie question her own reality. And that brings me back to that Woody Allen comment. Remember, Jennifer said this to police. She said this to law enforcement. So what was she really saying to Maddie if she would say that she was worried that Maddie was going to run off with Stephan? Boundary violations. I think Jennifer repeatedly violated Maddie's boundaries. I think she viewed Maddie simply as an extension of herself and not as a separate individual. And this is, again, as I shared with you a few moments ago, her forcing Maddie to be in the same room, in the same bed with her, and in the same bed with her and Stephan, and ultimately in the same bed with just Maddie and Stephan alone. I think that being around Jennifer, I think she would have been emotionally volatile. I think she would have had an intense emotional relationship, but also intense emotional reactions to Maddie when she felt threatened or challenged in any way. And I don't know if Jennifer had these or not because Maddie's not here to tell us. But I do believe that Jennifer's love for Maddie was very conditional, and that her love and affection of Maddie was contingent on Maddie meeting her expectations of what Maddie should be. It would have been contingent on Maddie giving Jennifer attention, doing what Jennifer wanted. And this goes back to this whole thing of Jennifer not even being there for her daughter's birthday. Who plans a child's birthday party, their 13th birthday? She's a teenager, but doesn't bother to attend. A narcissistic mother does. And I believe that Jen viewed Maddie as not as a daughter, not as a individual, but I believe she viewed her as a rival to her for Stephan's attention and affection. So she was not in the statement, this little snippet where she taught the Woody, I will just refer to it as the Woody Allen comment. She was not concerned with Maddie. She was concerned about Stephan running away with Maddie. And again, this is so indicative of a narcissistic mother ignoring the needs of her child. Because I believe that the only thing that Jennifer really cared about was Jennifer. So let me pull this up for you. Because I do want to talk about this, because maybe this can help someone else. Maybe this can help somebody else. Let me move myself out of the way. Okay, that should be better. So let's talk about this. Narcissistic parents may appear to be loving and charming. The grandiose narcissistic parent uses their child as a source of narcissistic supply. So if you grew up in a household like this, this is how you were used. You were simply there to validate the narcissist. Vulnerable narcissists are deeply insecure, and they use their children as their confidant and therapist. And I believe that this was a dynamic that would have been playing out between Jennifer and Maddie. So I don't believe it was just Stephan that was grooming Madeline Soto. I believe Jennifer was grooming her also, in my opinion. So I'm just going to briefly recap these three types of narcissistic parental A. They view the child as an extension of themselves. The hallmark is the lack of boundaries. This is a hallmark sign of a narcissistic mother, and the fact that Madeline was not even permitted to have her own bedroom, even though there was a guest room available, tells me that there was no boundaries allowed for Madeline. A narcissistic parent may overstep the bounds of what is appropriate, and Jennifer definitely forcing Maddie to be in her own bed, by forcing Maddie to be in the bed with her and Stephan, and forcing Maddie to be in the bed with Stephan by herself. So I sincerely hope that this plea deal with Stephan that we're going to hear about on Monday includes him flipping on Jennifer Soto, because I think she overstepped the boundaries of what is appropriate. Guilt trips and control. This is another classic sign of a vulnerable narcissist. They are deeply insecure and emotionally unstable. Again, this Woody Allen, and this is just one, I just took one little clip of what she said. One little piece that one little sentence told me so much about Jennifer. But I believe she's emotionally unstable. I think she's deeply insecure. The fact that her concern was not about Maddie's well-being, that Maddie would be safe sleeping in bed with some guy who wasn't even her current boyfriend, but that her worry was that Maddie was going to run off, tells me how emotionally unstable and deeply insecure that this narcissistic mother was, in my opinion. Competition and sabotage. There it is. We saw this. We saw her do this to Maddie when she sent her upstairs to be with Stephan that night. Most parents are happy to see their children grow up and become successful adults, but some narcissistic parents cannot bear the thought of anybody surpassing them, including their own child. Their parents always need to be, this parent, and I believe this is Jennifer Soto, in my opinion, needs to be the center of attention. They cannot stand the thought of someone becoming more successful than they are, so they need to do everything to maintain control. And how did Jennifer maintain control that day? She sent Maddie upstairs to that guest room with Stephan by herself. She did not get up that morning to see her daughter off to school to see if she was okay. She did not even bother to call 911 to report her own daughter was missing. So if you know, and I'm talking about this in the event that I am talking to somebody who maybe survived a parent like Jennifer. First of all, you're not alone. Um, I'm sorry that this happened to you. You deserve better. You're going to want to, if you are the child of a narcissist, you are going to want to learn to set healthy boundaries for yourself. You're going to want to process your feelings and prevent trauma from being passed on to the next generation. And even if that goes against what you've been taught to believe, you may have been taught to believe that you're responsible for your narcissistic mother's happiness. You are not. Ultimately, you cannot save your mother. The only person you can save is yourself. You cannot change her behavior. She is not going to change. And you cannot waste the rest of your life trying to make her happy or trying to get her approval, because you will never get it. You can grieve the childhood you did not deserve. And don't let anybody tell you that the hurts and insults were not real, because they were real. And the trauma of being narcissistically treated, I'm watching my words here, is only toxic when it remains invisible. And once you have committed to examining your own past and recognizing your own childhood experience, what that meant to you, then your mother will no longer have power over you. Your past will no longer have power over you. And I'm going to provide a link for this in the chat. This is a therapist link by state for anybody who just maybe has survived this, because I do believe that certain people were attracted to this case because of things that they went through in their own life. I'm not saying everybody, but some people may have been. And it's really common, I find, in the true crime community for people to be processing their own trauma. So I want to just tell you that if you have gone through something like this, I'm so sorry. And you deserved so much better than somebody like Jennifer Soto. But she is vapid. She is empty. And she is never going to be done if you survived this type of mother. Phoenix is coming from a conditional parent myself. It really does damage a child. It traumatizes them. I am working on healing that child. Phoenix, I am so sorry that you went through that. I am so sorry. And I'm glad you survived. And I sincerely hope that you're able to heal from that. I will be providing the link to the therapist in the comment section below once we're done. We need a lawyer for your question. I'm not a lawyer. I could try looking it up if you want. Let me see where we are in chat. Lori says, if you commit a horrible crime, there should be no deals for you. Well, if it means that they're able to get him to flip on Jennifer, would that make it worth it? I'm not saying he is or isn't, but he's, we're going to hear victim impact statements. If he were to, if they could flip on Jennifer, and I'm not saying Jennifer had anything to do with doing away with her daughter. And I think proving this emotional grooming is really tough for prosecutors. But let me know what you think. But I understand how you feel, Lori, and I don't want to minimize that. I get it. I get it. It is a horrible crime, and you're right. Runsworth Souther said, I was from age 7 to 12 by my bio donor. I went from victim to survivor. It takes strength. I'm so grateful for your sharing this. I'm so sorry that you went through that. And just is letting you know, if you're a channel member, that we do have a channel members only live next. Teresa said, I think she should be charged with reckless endangerment by sending Maddie to be the night she was taken away forever. Tammy says, I'm so sorry. This is to you, Runs with Scissors. I'm so glad you see yourself as a survivor. So proud of you. Elizabeth says, well said. Dunja says, I can't imagine. That is horrific. I'm so sorry. Christy says, agrees, Lori. The victim had no choices. Why should the unalivers? Yeah. I do want to say that I think that the reason he's taking a plea deal, this is just my opinion. Thank you for modding today. And this is our head mod, Njaz, and our other head mod is Michael Cole. He was Brother Mike. He's Michael Cole now. I have to update you in the system, but thank you so much for modding. Carol says she's not trustworthy either. They're both scumbags, absolute scumbags. All she wanted Madeline for was so she could get out of her place, her creepy boyfriend, and her family. DM said, at the time, Jennifer Soto hasn't been arrested, but Stephan is waiting in jail and is about to plead guilty. Not a fan of Jennifer Soto, but Stearns is in prison forever. Yeah. And I think that the reason he didn't want to go to trial is when he didn't want to face capital punishment, right? These guys never want to face, they're willing to dish it out, but they will never face it themselves. They'll never face it themselves. But the reason that he's willing also to plead out, in my opinion, is he doesn't want to face prison justice, because you know what happens to these guys when they get into jail, right? Don't mess with kids. Christy says, we do have a wonderful family-like group on Facebook. Please consider joining us. Yeah, if you type in reporter room, it should pop up. In Idaho, it should pop up. We need a lawyer. Thank you for wanting today, Mike. And I'm glad you're healing. Susie says, I did see a lawyer on another channel say he felt like they would not charge Jen unless it is neglect. Yeah, I think it's going to be very hard to approve emotional emotional grooming, in my opinion. It's going to be very hard. It's a hard thing to prove. But maybe if Stephan flips on her, he might be able to have some things that, would help put Jennifer away. I guess the next question is, does he have any credibility at all? Carol says, and it will not affect Jennifer in any way concerning her one-time use and derivative immunity. Yeah, so she got derivative immunity, and what that means is that anything that Jennifer testifies to, but she's not testifying now. So again, in my opinion, this does help law enforcement. She's not testifying now. So she got derivative immunity, which means she's can't take the fifth because they can't go after her for anything she testifies to. But now that she's not testifying, she gets nothing. So that helps law enforcement, in my opinion. Do I think there's enough? I don't know. I don't know what they have. Chris says, Dawn says, the trauma is lifelong. I am constantly having to address my CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm so sorry, Dawn Marie. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. You deserve better. Michael, our head mod said, go after Jen. They will find out more during the trial. Yeah. I do think that, and I want to thank NJAS for gifting a reporter room membership. If you receive that, please make sure you say thank you to NJAS. We're going to watch this video together. I do want to, let me take this down for a second. We're going to watch this video together. I do want to say thank you to our producers. Oh, that's my fault. Let me do that again. I'm sorry. I do want to say thank you to our producers, NJAS, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Christy Ballantyne, Brother Mike, who's now Mike Cole, and Lynn Jen 2. And I also want to say thank you to our channel members. We're not done. We're going to go through this video together next. And I'm going to point out a couple of things to you guys in the video. But if you would like to become a channel member of Reporter Room, it's just a couple of dollars a month. It's the join button is next to the subscribe button. But subscribing is free, and that helps me out a lot too. So whichever one you feel like you can do is absolutely fine with me. There's no pressure to become a channel member. But I do want to do a thank you to our channel members. Thank you so much. I am grateful to each and every one of you for your support and for allowing me to cover this particular case, because I do think that this is important. It gives us a chance to reach out to people who maybe have survived someone like Jennifer Soto and survived someone like Stephan Stearns. And I also want to do super thanks and coffee gratitude for the live stream I did with two-time Pulitzer Prize winner Howard Blum, and thank you for your gifted channel memberships, NJAS Roberta and NJAS. Okay, so let's go through this video together.
Hey everybody, Dr. G here.
So if you don't know Dr. G, let me just share what his credentials are. He is a clinical and forensic psychologist, and he did an analysis of the interview with WFTV. Can you guys hear it okay? Could you hear it when I played that little bit? Just a quick yes or no. Were you able to hear Dr. G? I hope so.
Of not wanting to respond. She's already doing it, so I see that more right now as a pacifying behavior than an attempt not to say something.
I feel like I can't breathe. All I keep thinking about is, where is she? Is she safe? Is she okay? But we're all a wreck. My entire family is a mess. We're just so worried.
Her emotional expression is interesting. I think that's the only way that I can describe it. It's not typically how you would expect someone to respond. That doesn't mean she's doing it wrong, but the way that she looks versus the way that she sounds is very different. She appears very anxious, her body's shaking, and yet there's a quality about the way she's speaking that seems very calm and casual. It's a very interesting mix of two very different ways of expressing oneself, but it can be confusing to see this.
When did you first realize, or when did you file a missing report?
We filed a missing report. We called the police at like 4:45 yesterday, 4:45 p.m. But she actually went missing.
Now, I want you to keep in mind, she's being asked questions and she's responding directly. She is answering the exact questions that she's being asked. This cannot be said of Stephan Stearns. When you watch his interview, he's asked questions and he does not respond. He gives vague answers. He doesn't provide details and oftentimes doesn't answer the questions at all.
Early that morning, around between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning, she went missing. We had dropped her off close to the school.
She said we had dropped her off. Now, these statements, these we statements, seem to be getting her into trouble.
And that really bothers me, you guys. And that's where I'm wondering if law enforcement, was she in the car? Why is she saying we dropped her off at school? Let's see what Dr. G thinks.
Apparently, it was Stephan Stevens who was the one who drove her to school. Apparently, she was not part of it. So as she's saying we, it's making it sound inconsistent.
She wanted to walk the rest of the way.
This look right here has been a concern for a lot of people. How could she smile and act a little bit silly while her daughter is missing when something so grave and so serious is going on? And what's possible is she may have a very unusual way of expressing her emotions. One thing that we have not seen yet, and we don't see throughout this, is her faking emotions. Stephan Stearns very clearly was faking emotions. He was wiping his eyes without tears. You are not seeing any attempt to fake anything here. And that's one thing that's really important to understand, is that just because somebody presents strangely, she doesn't seem to be trying to fake emotion. And that's a very essential part of understanding what you should pay attention to and what doesn't matter as much.
And I do think that she's not faking emotions. I don't even think it dawns on her to fake emotions. That's just my opinion. I have coming at it from a little bit of a different angle, and I respect Dr. G. I think he's does a wonderful job, but I think that she's not showing any emotions, and has that smile and look on her face because she feels like she has no empathy or compassion, like just what I started off with, that this is a classic narcissistic parent, in my opinion, a classic narcissistic mother, in my opinion, where she just doesn't feel empathy or compassion for Maddie. So why would she have emotions? And she wouldn't even think to have emotions, in my opinion. Let me know if you have a different sense of it, but I just don't think she would even consider having emotions, because in her mind, she doesn't feel anything. She doesn't feel any empathy or compassion for Maddie whatsoever. Well, guys, I'm going to leave it there because we're doing a channel members only live next. But if you would like to join me over there, I'm going to be there next. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And follow me over. If you're a channel member, I'm going to close this out and reopen. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. And thank you so much. I will be linking Dr. G's information. And I do want to also link, let me grab this link too, this therapist link, in case anybody is watching this and is feeling a little bit triggered. I'll be linking that as soon as I'm done with the channel memberships. To just find a therapist if you need one. If you have been through something like this, you may need some help to be able to heal. And of course, I do want everybody to be okay. And I do know that a certain percentage of people that watch true crime because they're working through their own trauma. So if that's you, you can even do therapy by phone. You don't even have to go in person anymore. You can do it by Zoom. There's lots of ways to get help. And let me get the RAIN phone number too. I want to give you the hotline phone number for this as well. They have a chat, and it's 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-4673. And that is for help over as well, if you feel like you need help. So I just want to offer that as support as well. All right, guys, I will, if they are going to be airing the Stephan Stearns trial, I will be airing that if we're allowed to watch.